Alright guys, today we are doing rear brake pads on my 2002 Nissan Sentra. So, first things first, for anybody who doesn't know, if you're using your factory jack, look for these little grooves underneath your car. That's where the jack is supposed to go. It is important that you put the jack in the correct spot. Alright. Secondly, make sure you block your wheels. Since I'm doing the rear brakes, I have to have the e-brake turned off. Third, if you don't have an impact gun, then you will need to loosen these bolts before you jack the car up. Make sure you loosen them, then jack up the car. It will make it a whole lot easier. Now you'll have to excuse the fact that I have allergies, so I might be a little bit sniffly while I'm doing this. And the thing that I'm using to hold my phone is a piece of junk, so give me just a moment. Alright, hopefully this is going to give you guys a good enough view of what I'm doing here. First step, simple enough. Next step, I need to get these bolts loose. Now, it has been quite some time since I've done the brakes on this. I'm already fully aware that my rotors look like crap. Spray a little brake clean on that. Okay, let's see what it takes to get these loose. Now, I have a tendency to do things a little bit old school, so I'm a big fan of wrench and hammer. Not to be confused with arm and hammer. Also, I was the last one who did the brakes on these, so I know they're not over tight. Okay, got those loose. Now it looks like my bottom slider bolt is frozen, which is just great. I'm glad I don't have to deal with that. Alright. Got these two bolts out. This should technically just slide right off. And looking at this, this may or may not be the kind of caliper that needs to spin as it gets pushed in. There is a hack for that. You can actually grab, say, oh shit, I should have a wire to hold this up. I got the jack stand right here. You can actually grab the pliers and you can rotate it and then push it and then rotate it and then push it and rotate it and then push it. It's a pain in the ass, but it is absolutely possible. Now, as you can see, this pad's hardly worn. And this pad's worn down further, which indicates that my sliders are not doing well. This one here appears to be totally frozen, which is just great. This one is moving freely, so I do have a problem with a frozen slider bolt. That is just a whole different challenge. Now, what are the chances I'll be able to get it to loosen up? Oh, hey, look at that. At least it moves. Okay, so that's lucky. So maybe. Oh, boy, that baby is frozen. Okay, give me a minute. Alright, so I was lucky enough. I was able to get these bolts out and hold the bracket in place. Now, if the slider bolt's frozen, usually you only have a couple of options. I'm going to try and do, let's see if I can, start moving by hitting it with a hammer. I really don't want to ruin this rubber bushing. The best thing would be to separate this before I keep twisting this slider bolt. And I'm guessing water has already gotten into there at one point. That's why it's frozen, and that's why my brakes were wearing unevenly. So I got that boot loosened up so I don't tear this thing. Now realistically, I'm guessing the only way I'm going to get this out of here is by putting a torch on it. I'm going to keep trying to wiggle and pull at the same time. Probably going to have to get a different pliers. Here we go. I got a vice grip right here. Again, I want to be careful not to tear this rubber boot, because I can't really just go to the parts store. I'm out in the country. So I'm sliding this boot down. I bet you guys probably can't see this worth of crap. Sliding this boot down a little bit and get this vice grip around here. Of course, my vice grip spent some time in the trunk of my car, and at one point there was water in my car, so my vice grip's a little rusty. Now, I already knew this was an issue. Oh, that's awesome. That is amazing. I am really happy I got that out. So really all I have to do with this is get it nice and clean, grease it up, get this inside part nice and clean, put it back together, and my slider bolt should move freely. That was lucky. And I always say, if you can't be good, you can be lucky. Alright, so I wiped this off with a rag. Fortunately, since it was greased at one time, it's still in really good shape, but as you can see, pretty bad up here. So I'm going to take my towel here, hold on to this with my vice grip, and this is called a paint and rust stripper. Typically you use it for body work, and we're going to see well cleaned up. It's actually doing a pretty darn good job. We're going to keep going on that and see how it looks. Okay, it actually turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. I sprayed it with some WD-40. I'm going to have to grease this. I'm going to heavily grease this part before I put it back in. Now the next problem is getting this guy cleaned up. It is not going to be easy to clean. I'm going to have to see what I have that I can get inside of here. But the first and easiest thing for me to do here is going to literally be, make sure I get my electronic stuff out of the way, is literally, I'm just going to spray it WD-40. The WD in WD-40 stands for water displacement. And water is what causes rust. As you can see, I got tons of crud falling out of there. Doing a really good job of holding it in front of the camera. Now, WD-40 is also a degreaser. You can't use it in place of grease. It will not do you any favors. It is not a lubricant. It is a water removal. Like I said, water displacement is what WD-40 stands for. So, I'm going to see what I can find to clean this out. Alright, this is what I was hoping to find. This is a battery cleaning brush. It should. Oh man. Okay, so it might not fit in there. Bummer. Alright. I might just have to let the WD-40 soak for a while and get a rag and get that out of there. And then I'm just going to pump her full of some grease. And I'll be using the same grease that you would normally put into a grease gun. So, give me a minute to go find that. Okay, so I got me some paper towels here. And the flathead screwdriver probably could be done with a Phillips head, but I want to use a flathead because I want to be able to spin this inside of there. And I'm going to attempt to get the rust out of it. Oh, okay. Well, we're glad we did that, aren't we? Holy shit, that was disgusting. Alright, we're going to probably do that a few times here until we make some solid progress. All I really want to do is make sure that there's not any rust inside of here. Wow, actually, that's doing really well. Really, really well. Give it up for the WD-40 doing its job. Oh, sorry guys, I've got allergies. It's really bad this year. I live right next to a cornfield. Okay. That's not bad at all. I think I want to spray it one more time. WD-40 is doing an excellent job getting that rust out of there. These paper towels are a little bit too thick for this job. I probably should have used some thinner ones. But we're going to try. Get everything, yeah, it just keeps poking through. That's actually pretty damn clean. That's not bad. It's much better than what it was looking. I'm actually pretty darn happy with that. Considering I'm out in the middle of nowhere, I don't have a parts store available to me anytime soon here. Nearest Walmart is 15 miles away. So I'm pretty happy with how clean I'm getting this. Wow. Just wow. Okay. I don't really want to leave WD-40 inside of here. Because I'm afraid in the long run it'll break down my grease. Found out when I was a kid that WD-40 is not a replacement for grease. I had a problem with the handlebars on my bike. From doing too many jumps, I had bent the tube on the head tube and the fork inside of the frame of the bike, and it was really hard to turn the wheel. Well, I didn't know until I took it apart that I had bent the tube. So I kept spraying WD-40 in it so that way I could ride my bike. That would work for a little while and it would tighten up again. Well, I found out that the WD-40 was just breaking down the grease that was already inside of there and pulled all the grease out of the bearings. Now that just looks like it's grease down there, so that's pretty fortunate. Going the wrong way here. Alright, I am very happy with that. Actually, Clean up my slider bolt a little bit here. There's a little bit of rust on there. Take a handy rust stripper. If you're ever doing body work on a car, I swear by these things. I absolutely love them. They are the greatest invention. Okay. So, got our slider bolt nice and clean. Take my handy grease gun here. And we're going to give this guy a nice healthy coating of grease. That's probably way more than I needed. But the grease keeps the water out. That's the important thing. Also, I've got my boot here, which has some crud inside of it. Yeah, that wouldn't do me any favors to leave that in there. So we're going to get all that crud out of that boot. Now you can just buy new boots, which is normally what I would do. But again, I'm out in the country, so I'm making do with what I've got. I have to admit, I'm impressed these boots are still good, because if they're still original, that means there's 250,000 miles on these boots. And this car is from 2002, so it's 24 years old. So that is a 24-year-old rubber boot that still hasn't split or cracked. That's pretty damn impressive. Okay. Get this cleaned out. Now remember, guys, I don't claim to be a professional. This is just some good old-fashioned backyard engineering. Not bad. I still got a little more crud in here that I'd like to get out of there, though. I don't want to leave chunks of rust inside of this boot. Alright. Now, if I can remember which way this boot went on, looks like the bigger piece goes around here, like so. Take my slider bolt, push it in, and it snaps around that little collar. Pretty damn simple. And now we can see that both of my slider bolts here do in fact move freely. That's what we were going for. Alright guys, well here's something I'm not proud of. I looked at the back side of my rotor, and as you can see, it is absolutely smoked. So the reality is I need to replace my rear rotors. But right now what I'm going to do, this handy rust stripper here, I'm going to take off these high spots here, just so I can at least get some even pad wear. I will be of course ordering some new rotors. This is not the correct way to resurface a rotor, and as you can imagine, I've been riding on a crummy rotor for quite some time now. So I'm at least just trying to make it so it's somewhat flat and clean. But that is absolute garbage. Do not just clean a rotor and expect it to be good. It will not work. Order new ones. Now one of my next steps here is going to be to compress my caliper if I can with this tool. This tool may not fit because the caliper has gone too far. Okay, well that's a whole different problem. Give me just a second, I gotta figure something out for this. Alright, I do not expect this to work at all. But if I can at least get it to squeeze a little bit, I might be in luck. Now, as I said, these may have to turn as well as squeeze. So sometimes, oops, I don't want to cause brake fluid to come out of there though. I got a little bit of brake fluid leaking out there. That's not okay. Alright. Clean that up. As I said, I do not pretend to be a professional. I've just been doing my own work on my cars for a long time. Obviously, when it comes to brakes, something you don't want to fuck around with. It makes it much more challenging that this has the e-brake connected to it. I intend to rotate it. Are you the type that does not rotate? Oh, shucks. This makes for a whole different challenge. Now we're on to problem solving. Okay, in an attempt to make this easier on myself, I put my bracket back on. Spray this bleeder with some WD-40. And I'm making sure to use a 6-point socket, not a 12-point on this. You will regret it if you strip your bleeder screws. Put this on here. Okay. Gotta loosen up a little bit. Hey, fluid comes out. Alright, tighten her back up. Okay, so I got a good bleeder. Now again, my problem is that I can't get the piston compressed. And that's a big problem. Because I can't get the brakes on. I can't get it compressed. And that's a big problem. So, I'm going to try to cheat. Let's see if I can get this in here. Force it open. Oh. Don't really want to lose my brake pressure by opening that bleeder when I don't have a second person to help me. Oh. But I also have a bad feeling this is the kind that needs to rotate as it gets pushed. So I might have to get a different style of brake tool, the kind that actually rotates. Oh, as it squeezes here, I'm able to rotate this. Rotate. Or maybe it just rotates. Let's see if I'm lucky. Can't be good, you can be lucky. Oh crap, I'm making the boot slip. That's not what I want to do. Now I want to tear the boot. Absolutely do not want to tear the boot. I'm doing my best to just barely grab the edge of this. It is not easy. Absolutely not easy. but it might be working. Oh, it is working. Okay. So these are the brakes that need to rotate as they close. So I have to be super careful not to damage this boot as I'm rotating this caliper. Oh, this is the wrong way to do this, ladies and gentlemen. There's actually a tool that is designed to rotate and compress this at the same time. If you're in a pinch, this is the hack, but this is the hard way to do it. I'm not kidding. Alright, so far, it looks like I've gotten quite lucky. I'm actually able to grab this just barely and rotate it. I think everything I can to make sure I don't damage this boot. But I have gotten it to compress. I'm not happy that I seem to be leaking brake fluid though. I'm really hoping I did not tear this boot. I am very disappointed right now. I just want you guys to understand this is the wrong way to do this job. When it comes to your brakes, you don't want to do it the wrong way. Oh, all right. We're going to see how close we are. This is a perfect example of what not to do, ladies and gentlemen. What not to do. Let's put this piece of shit rotor on. Normally, use a brush. Be sure to clean these guys out. I'm using a brass brush here. And usually I would use anti-seize on here. But unfortunately I don't have any anti-seize. Well, I do have some anti-seize, but I haven't been able to find it. And I'm honestly not happy about that, because I use anti-seize on everything. And I don't really want to put grease in there because you don't want grease on your brakes. So, put this bracket back on. Come on, you were just down there. Don't be difficult now. What size is that? 17 millimeter. Oh, goddamn, I almost fell over. And yes, I could probably use a socket on this and go a whole lot faster. And that one I might have to use a socket. What is this piece of shit ratchet? I don't know. It's It's a newer one, but it's a fucking heart. Why is that thing spinning so difficultly? Apparently I must have abused this ratchet at some time, because it is not functioning very well. Right. That's my impact wrench. Alrighty. Now, might be okay. I'm actually going to get a tape measure, and I'm going to take a measurement instead of forcing myself to be frustrated. Okay, so typically when you put these in, you want to slide them in this way first at an angle, and then push them in. Now, the measurement of this is just under 1 3/4. It's like just over 1 1/2. I might have to compress this just a little bit more. I really hope this boot is not leaking brake fluid. Yeah. I need that to turn just a little bit more. I really don't like doing it this way because now I'm so close to the boot. I have a very good chance of tearing it. Now she's dripping a bunch of brake fluid, which just fills me with all kinds of confidence. Oh man, that's not cool. Now it could just be because I'm stupid and I forgot to open up my bleeder. Oh, hey, look at that. So I'm guessing my mistake was that as I was compressing that, oh, come on, don't tell me. I had gravel in there. Oh, good. Best for it. As I was compressing that, I should have had my bleeder open. So my mistake is I pushed a bunch of fluid into the boot and it had nowhere to go. And it's my own retarded fault. Can't fuck around when it comes to brakes, folks. You gotta do it right. So, and I did have a one-man bleeder tool, but you know, I had a friend who decided to steal that from me at one point and hasn't given it back. So I get for spending $50 on a tool I thought I'd never have to buy again. Now I have to buy again, and it's going to cost me $70. But It's not great, but it's functional. I technically need to rotate that just a little bit more. Unfortunately, it appears as though the boot has stopped leaking. I need to get this one more little spin. The fluid has no place to go. Squeeze out between the boot and the caliper, which I guess I'm just going to have to be okay with for now. There we go. If you ever wanted to know how not to do your brakes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the video for you. But if you're in the middle of nowhere, brakes are locked up, you absolutely have to do them. When it comes to last resorts, this is it. So, spray my mess down with some brake cleaner. Try and save at least a little bit of that for the other side. Let that evaporate. Tighten up our bolts. Now, normally I would put anti-seize on these. I personally like to put anti-seize on everything. I don't want to over tighten those because at some point I will have to take them off again. And it's not perfect. That rotor is obviously warped, but my car is now at least going to be drivable. Put our little cap back on, and that is how to and how not to do the rear brakes on your Nissan Sentra. Alright, we're just going to finish up the job here. Rear wheel back on. The most annoying rims ever made. That's the wrong socket. Straight. Stand out of the way. Put the e-brake back on and double check our bolt tightness. Always double check your bolt by hand, even if you used